I just have images of I'm gonna just say it, the Holocaust and people being like herded like animals into a cattle car. Like
Yeah,
that's what that elicits for me for
yeah.
visualization.
It's very distressing.
Hello, welcome to the Politics Chicks podcast. I'm Monica Healy.
And I'm Christy Branham.
Today we're going to talk about immigration, but we're going to do it through the eyes of someone who isn't an immigration lawyer, a politician, or a policy expert. She's a regular person who decided to show up. It's my friend, Erin Moncure. Erin has spent much of her life advocating for causes she cares about, particularly animal rights and gay rights. She has also spent years caring for animals, including what can only be described as a small army of cats and dogs, and cultivating a beautiful garden. About a year ago, Erin started volunteering with CLUE, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, at Immigration Court.
Since then, she's observed immigration court proceedings, connected people with resources and legal assistance, helped pay immigration bonds, and most recently begun visiting people detained at the Adelanto ICE Processing Center. And what she has seen has changed her.
Erin, we're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Politics Chicks. And I met you a little over a year ago. And since we met, you have just hit the ground running. And I say all the time that I don't think you sleep because you go nonstop. And I so appreciate what you do for the world. So I think we were together when we first heard Nancy talking about CLUE. So what prompted you to take that leap and to walk into immigration court in the first place?
Yes, we were together, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much. We were sitting together having coffee, and a new friend of ours, Nancy, had mentioned that she had recently trained to be a court observer at the Santa Ana Immigration Courthouse, which is the courthouse that handles all immigration issues in Orange County, Riverside, and San Bernardino. That's the third one. It's a really big courthouse. Um, and it was instantly interesting to me because I had wanted to do this previously. I had been interested in doing court observation at immigration court during Trump's first term, and I had friends that were doing it down in San Diego. At the time, I had zero free time. I very much wanted to do it. The passion was there, but realistically, it didn't work with my schedule. So when Nancy mentioned it, it just kind of reminded me of that interest from years ago, and I was kind of shocked that it was just falling into my lap, and I was like, oh wow, this is really meant to be. So I talked to her, I signed up for training, and just hit the ground running.
And why don't you take us back to your very first day as a court observer, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So my very first day was training and then moving right into the courthouse to observe for the first time, which I think is a really smart way to do it. You kind of learn what to expect, and then you go in and you have your first experience. And I'll always remember it because it was on my birthday, and I couldn't think of a better way to spend that day than meeting some new people and potentially finding something that would really fill my cup, finding a place to sort of fit in and see what I could do to help. So you do the training outside of the courthouse. There's picnic tables there. And so we're all sitting as a group, and we kind of learn the basics, which include decorum inside the courtrooms and the courthouse. I'd never been, aside from a speeding ticket, never been in a courtroom setting, so I was just absorbing everything. I really didn't want to make any mistakes. I didn't want to detract from the very serious things that are happening there. So I was paying really close attention. So how do you behave in that setting? How do things work? What can you expect? Where are we allowed? Where are we not allowed? And what our roles are. It takes a minute to kind of figure that out because I do think it's different for everybody that does court observation. Your roles kind of depend on your comfort level what you're prioritizing. So we had our training, and then we went through security. And when you walk into the courthouse, there's these huge digital screens that list all of the people that have hearings that day and the courtrooms and the judges that they're assigned to. And when typically you're doing court observation, you're going there to observe what are called the master calendar hearings. Those are the initial proceedings. And oftentimes, especially if it is the very first time a person is there after they've received a notice to appear from the Department of Homeland Security, the judge is strictly doing clerical stuff. They're giving advisals. They're telling the respondents what their rights and responsibilities are. It's just the basics. It's not that it isn't an important hearing. It is the same information for pretty much everybody there. So in that sense, it can get a bit redundant. It's extremely important information. It's a lot of stuff. It is chock full of legal jargon that initially I didn't understand, so I had to do a fair amount of research to just acclimate myself to what was going on. But you're observing these master calendar hearings with large groups of respondents. And then if you're comfortable, after people are dismissed, you're going out to talk to them, just to connect to, especially with the pro se respondents, which are the people that don't have representation, to see if they're interested in receiving resources, to show your support, to hopefully, and oftentimes there is a language barrier for me, I only speak English, but to hopefully get the point across that you're simply there to help if they're interested. There is no solicitation. You're not selling anything. And there's not even like this religious component where there's like an interest in conversion. It's nothing like that. It's like, I am here to help. If you're interested, let's figure it out together. That's it.
I think for a lot of people, their conception of a courthouse or a courtroom is probably based on TV. I mean, I think that's what I picture in my mind, but I'm sure there's some differences. And you're encountering all kinds of people that this is a very stressful time in their life. So what does the courtroom actually look like, and what are you encountering with the people that are actually there for their hearings?
The courtroom's pretty similar to what you might see on TV. I mean, there's no jury. These are civil violations. It's not a criminal court.
Right.
And
that's a big difference. And I want to point out that is a very important delineation in what the broader public thinks about it. It is a civil.
They're not criminal. They're not facing criminal charges. This is considered a civil offense.
Exactly. And intellectually, I understood that going in. But once I got into that space, I recognized that my understanding of it was very surface level. And I had a huge amount of learning to do. Because not only is it civil infractions that the Department of Homeland Security is alleging that these folks have done, oftentimes, depending on how things work, because immigration law is so complicated, it's really, really complex. And oftentimes people are being brought in, and the burden of proof is on DHS. And I've been in several hearings where the judge very quickly realized that there was absolutely no reason for that person to have ever received a notice to appear. Zero information or data to support DHS's claims, and things are dismissed. So it is civil. They are not addressing criminal charges in any way. And, the language of like illegal immigrant is unfortunately, it's so inaccurate and flawed. I'm disappointed how like seamlessly that infiltrated into our language, because it's just not the case almost all of the time. And I have mentioned this to other people in other interviews as well. I have been at immigration court for almost a year now, and I've been in hundreds and hundreds of hearings, and I have been in more than several individual hearings, which is when you get to the very end and you're receiving a decision. So I've been there while all information is divulged and nobody has a criminal record. They just don't. So the idea of illegal immigrants is, it's upsetting. And of course it is a very intentional from the administration. So people get a skewed idea of the people that are going to these courthouses.
Well, that certainly fits the narrative, and they need the public to at least believe that in order for them to be able to find this even somewhat palatable, what they're doing right now, right? And you were quoted by the LA Times describing these huge mega master hearings where 60, 80, sometimes 100 people are scheduled for essentially the same hearing. That is insane. What does that look like and feel like from the perspective of the people standing in the room? Because it has to be overwhelming, especially for the people there that don't speak English. And they're just, it's like, it sounds like a cattle call to me.
It is. It is. I mean, I think the mega masters are just another effort from the administration to dehumanize people. These hearings are incredibly serious, like it's probably the scariest thing that's happened in a person's life. And to show up and there's 90 other people trying to be herded into the same courtroom. I mean, your individuality just goes out the window. And I haven't seen this, but a bunch of the my fellow volunteers have been at the courthouse where mega masters for a particular judge are so large that all the respondents don't fit in that judge's courtroom. And so they'll put half of them in the courtroom next door, and they'll use WebEx, which is a digital platform. So the judge is giving advisals to the people in their courtroom in person, and it's broadcast next door for the folks over there. I mean,
I just have images of I'm going to just say it, the Holocaust, and people being like herded like animals into a cattle car. Like that's what that elicits for me. For visualization.
It's very distressing. And it's and you have to recognize that every time there's a mega master, there are many, many people that don't show up. And there is just so much fear in that space. ICE was detaining people inside that very courtroom up until last August, the end of that month. And people know that it wasn't safe for a long time. So a lot of people don't go, and they risk their safety in any time that they might have in the United States not showing up because they're instantly deemed deportable. So the people that do show up are very brave. They have a lot of guts. They know that there's no way they can understand what might to expect. Like they don't know what's going to happen, and yet they're there. And so to muster up all of that courage to show up to this very, very scary thing, and then just be lumped in with a bunch of other terrified people, it just kind of exasperates the fear, and it is tough to be around. The idea that we might provide just a little bit of comfort and safety, even just like sharing a smile, that's why we go, and that's why we're there. But that space is not, it's not always a good place to be for everybody.
I was at Santa Ana last week. The organization that you volunteer for, CLUE, holds a vigil every other week and is mindful of the people that have been detained, have died in detention. And last week there was a family from Afghanistan, a family of 4, and they were supposed to receive their green cards that day. And they had done everything the right way. They had jumped through all the hoops that the government asked them to do, and they were scared. Like this day that should have been full of excitement, they were fearful to go in, and they had 2 volunteers that went in with them. And I learned later that there was a continuance, and they didn't receive their green cards that day. And I don't know why. And I can only imagine these mega masters with these huge numbers of people. And you talked about them broadcasting like even outside of the courtroom. So some of the people aren't even in the courtroom, but there are plenty of these people that don't speak English. And even if they do, like you said, the system is so complicated. And what happens when they say it's over and you find somebody that they have no idea what happened?
Right. That happens more often than not. And fortunately, because we've been observing for a while now, all of the regular volunteers are really clear on what the advisals entail and what the most important things are for people to sort of take away from that hearing. And I like to kind of it took me several months to understand the language that the judges and attorneys were using. And it's really important, these things are critical. So I like to kind of start there. I introduce myself as a volunteer. We're careful about IDing ourselves or the group that we work with, but I introduce myself as a volunteer. I say right away that I'm not an attorney and I cannot provide any legal advice, but I can connect people to resources. And did you understand what just happened? And if not, do you have a moment to sit down and we can talk things through using a translation app? A lot of times people just want to get out of the building. Like they're just,
it's got to be so stressful.
Their heart rate is
terrified.
Up here. Yeah, they feel like they could be grabbed at any point and they just want to leave. And I really respect that. So in those situations, I try to get phone numbers. We do have to be careful about behaving in a way that could be misconstrued as solicitation. So oftentimes I can't really give my phone number out. I need to ask for somebody else's phone number. And we don't ever want to do anything that could jeopardize our presence there. So we're all very careful about following the rules. So I try to get people's phone numbers. And it's not the easiest thing. They don't know me. Why would they trust some blonde woman that's using a translation app,
Right.
So it's like you feel it out. I've gotten better at it. And I've also gotten better at not taking it personally when people just want to get out and they don't want to talk. Like, it's not personal, and I hope at some point they do encounter somebody that can help. It took me a minute to get used to it, but now I'm just really excited when people are they feel comfortable enough to talk to me, and I can hopefully connect them with groups that are appropriate for their specific needs.
You have had times where you've built relationships with some of these people and you've encountered them more than once. And I'm going to refer to this man as John, whom you have mentioned. And you talked about husbands, brothers, families. How has getting to know individual people changed the way you think about this?
Oh my gosh. It's just made it so real. I've never had a hard time recognizing humanity in every person, but it's a whole different thing when you become a part of a person's life, and you're seeing things beyond what happens in the courthouse, because having to deal with immigration court proceedings is one very small component of a person's life. They have a million other things going on, just like I do and just like you guys do. They have jobs, they have people that depend on them, they have families, they hopefully have something that brings them joy. And it's really nice. It's really nice to see their lives as a whole. And I think that in our media, it's just so easy for news sources, for our administration to distill a whole human being into this one little thing, an illegal immigrant or however they want to phrase it. And it's completely inaccurate. Like, these are entire people with giant, amazing, difficult, and hopefully joyful lives. So when I spend more time with people, that's what I get to be a part of in a small way. It's really amazing. I did meet a man that we'll call John. in Los Angeles in the federal building, and that was a little bit different than court observation. I occasionally go to the Los Angeles federal building to pay bonds for people that are in ICE detainment. And that's something that is orchestrated by Clue. We receive donations, and those donations go directly towards that. And dependent on funds, we try to pay bonds as often as we can. ICE detention is a dangerous place. And I think everybody recognizes that time is of the essence when it comes to getting someone out of that situation. So you can only do that in LA, in this general part of the state. I was in Los Angeles doing that. The office where you pay bonds is the same office where people go for their ICE check-ins. So it's another really stressful space. It is filled with people that are completely terrified. And I'm sure that you've heard that oftentimes when people go for their ICE check-ins, which are these required appointments that are either every 6 months or every 12, it really depends on the administration. And during the Biden administration, a lot of folks were told that they no longer had to appear for ICE check-ins. And of course, that changed once Trump was reelected. But people are there, and oftentimes these appointments, they may wait for hours and hours and hours, but the actual appointment is just a couple minutes, and they're given the date of their next check-in, and off they go. But many people are detained at these check-ins, and they're never given a reason why. So it's a really scary space. And I would say that like 95% of the people in this waiting area are there for an ICE check-in, and then the rest of us are there to pay bonds. So that's typically who I interact with. And this man that we'll call John was there for his ICE check-in, and he had a bad feeling. So he'd already been detained twice. He's been working on his green card since 1985. There's another one of those people that's doing everything the exact right way and is just getting penalized for no reason. He was so fun, and we had such a nice time talking for the several hours that we sat there together. But because he had such a bad feeling about things, he gave me his wife's contact information in case he didn't come out from his appointment. And he had left his cell phone with his wife outside the courthouse because they confiscate that and then go through them. So he was detained that day. I did get in contact with his wife to let her know what had happened. And through a bit of back and forth, when he was given a bond order from a judge, Clue paid it. And he was released after that. And we've stayed in contact, but also there's this part of things where, you're a part of something that's extremely traumatic. And it feels really amazing to help in some small way. But also when these things kind of wrap up, things sort of, you hope that their lives go back to what they were before. And you hope that they're not thinking about what had happened all the time. And you hope that maybe you won't hear from them again. Because if you do, there's probably something terrible happening, So that's the story of John. But I have friends, they're friends. People that I know now that are a regular part of my life that I've met through court, through paying bonds. And my life is bigger and far more meaningful because of them.
And you've described that you have run into people in the community that you've helped. Mm-hmm. And what does that look like to you? I mean, you're part of this person's life for a very short period of time, relatively. And it's a very traumatic part of time, right? And then you were a point of light for them during this horrible experience, this dehumanizing experience. And I cannot add enough underlines to the word dehumanizing because that is the name of the game here, right? Yeah. What does it feel like when you run into someone like that in your community and realize that you're a neighbor? Because I think that would just make my heart feel lighter, knowing that you had played a part in that person being out in the community.
It's pretty special. I have a couple of friends now that I do some mutual aid work, and through that, I met somebody that it turned out that I'd done his bond paperwork to get out of ICE detention. He's a young man. And I met him and his dad. And they're my friends now. I see them all the time. And I mean, I just, speaking of underlying things, I would like to underline that I'm really not doing anything that amazing. There are no special skills involved in anything that I'm doing. I think a really cool thing about getting to know people outside of these specific spaces, like the bond office or the courthouse, a really cool thing about really getting to know people is that, we can be actual friends. And it's not about something that I could help with. It's about recognizing that we have a lot of things in common. And I think you're really cool. And wow, look at these skills that you've got. And let me share this thing that I think that you might enjoy hearing about. Like, it's more about that. Like, we're friends now. And my previous life, before I started doing this volunteer work, I'm not sure how I would have become friends with a 25-year-old man from Guatemala. I don't know how that would have happened exactly. I would have been open to it, but these volunteer opportunities have completely blown my life open in the most incredible, beautiful way. And it's good. I can still help with things. I do have the language skills to help with USCIS stuff. We're working on applications now, but I can also help him with getting his GED and maybe just kind of reinforcing the fact that he can do it, a little bit of a confidence boost, just what, you do with your friends. So I'm just stoked. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I love the people that I've met in court so much. And there's a lot of wonderful folks out there, and I could go on and on and on. I would like to share about one man that I've been working with. He had his final hearing yesterday afternoon. We've been in contact for maybe 9 months now, and he's a spectacular young man, 22, solely in charge of his life, no family. He's an Indian man. And he's a beautiful soul. And I really liked being around him. It's, he had all of his applications denied yesterday. He had applied for asylum, withholding of removal and protection under the Convention Against Torture. And he had everything denied, which is sadly, the outcome that we see most of the time. It's pretty rare that somebody, wins anything at immigration court. But his attitude about it was incredible, and we spoke for hours afterwards. And he's an optimist. He said, immigration court is a small part of my life, and I've learned a lot being here, and I know my worth, and I understand what makes me happy, and I understand that my biggest commitment is to myself, and I don't I don't owe things to other people. I need to take care of myself, and that's my job. And I mean, I'm over twice his age, and the first time I met him, he said, "God, you look just like my mom," which was really sweet because I'm pretty white,
Yeah. Pretty white, pretty blonde.
Yeah. And later he said he's mentioned it every time that we've seen each other. And yesterday he said, I think it's your hands that remind me most of my mother's. But it's like this beautiful thing. We have this amazing bond that means a lot to me. And I do have this sort of inclination to mother him a bit because he is so young and he's gone through more things than most people could ever manage, and he's standing strong and ready to walk into what the next chapter of his life is. And it's just I know I've been talking, and I always had a draw to advocacy. It was really important for me to find a space where I could make a difference. But I often gravitated towards things that didn't involve people because I just, it took me a long time to get to the point where I could get beyond the damage that I had incurred by other people, because it all happens to all of us, right? Like,
Right.
and we carry resentments and we have things that we haven't resolved. I've been working on that, and now it's been just an unbelievable thing for me to be like fully open for other people and have them reciprocate. It's amazing. Like, I'm so happy to work with people now.
Well, I just want to gently push back on what you said about not doing extraordinary things and remind you that not all superheroes wear capes. And just listening to you, you may think that the things that you're doing are not extraordinary, but for these people, it is everything to them. And I just, while you're working with these people, I know that your focus is on them, but I just want to, mirror back to you that what you're doing matters, even from the small window that I've gotten into it today. Of course, Monica knows you better, but even from what I've been able to glean from the conversation today, I can feel what an impact you've made on people's lives. So thank you so much for doing this, because it was something that you had to work towards, and I'm glad you got to that point.
And it's so great to hear you talk about these individuals and put them in a human perspective, because that's so much of what this administration is doing, is dehumanizing them. And you have a glimpse into their life that you can share with the world and their everyday things, because they are people. And I'm just going to echo what Christy said. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my pleasure. And they are people. Like, what a privilege to meet somebody and learn about their lives and get outside your own drama for a second. Like, I am close with a woman from China that is dealing with domestic violence issues and is a spectacular mom to her son. And another person that works 6 days a week, and all he does is send money to his family, but he's thinking that maybe sometime soon he might have funds to get a girlfriend, all of these very, very human things. Like, it is, I mean, if there's anything that I hope somebody takes from this interview, is that every single person in the courtroom is one of these people. They all have very full lives. They have people that they love. They deserve to live a life where they're safe and where they have the freedom to thrive. I mean, we all deserve that, and a lot of people never get it. And so if there is an opportunity for us to help in some way to make sure that somebody has that experience, like, I think it's just our obligation as human beings.
Totally agree. And we could use some more of that in our world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to step away from the immigration court for a second, because you've spent a lot of your time there, but you have also been in Adelanto, and nationally, Dilly and Delaney have been in the news a lot, and we've heard a lot about conditions there. And of course, Alligator Alley, when it was still functional, we heard a lot about that. So tell us what it was like to walk into Adelanto.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere, which of course is intentional. It's in the desert. There's not a lot there. You drive and drive. You get onto like these 2-lane roads, and then you're there, and there's 3 sections. There's the women's side, the men's side, and then the desert annex. And I've been in the women's side and the men's side. And it looks like a penitentiary. You park your car. Of course, there's flock cameras everywhere. And you walk in, and the entryway is several sets of chairs. There are images posted on the wall of the cafeteria, the law library, the outdoor area. And we all know that Those images are not real. It's not what the inside looks like. And then you check in. You give the information of the person that you're there to visit, and then you just wait. And I've waited up to 90 minutes to visit with somebody. At this point, I've been twice now, and I have a feeling I understand how things work, but staff isn't going to tell you. And so you're just there to observe and maybe like share experiences with other people that go. But what I think I know is that the first visitation will start at 8 a.m. And, detainees have a block of time where they can receive a visit. Typically, it's 3 days a week, and it's like a block of 3 hours on those different 3 days. And you can come as early as 8 a.m. for that first block of time. But the last time I was there, we had scheduled things out, and we didn't get in right at 8 a.m. We got in at like 9:30, I think. So we lost the ability to visit another person. And it seemed as if they were waiting for that waiting room to fill up. And then once there was a person for every seat in the visitation space, that's when they let us in. So it was kind of a bummer. You leave the house at 4 a.m. to get there, and you don't get to go in right away. You're at the whim of the staff.
I think that's intentional too, because they want to feel like they're controlling every single minute of
I think it is too.
your time and their time.
And to deprive the detainees of
right
connection with the outside world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've heard several comments from staff and seen them interact with other people that are there to visit family members. And it does seem to be done intentionally. And, in a space like that, you just have to go with it. You don't get to push back. If you push back, then you're told to leave. And that's a similar feeling at court. You have to work within the rules of the space where you're at. You don't get to be big and loud. You don't get, this isn't right. It just doesn't work there. You have to be really calm and peaceful, and just, you take what you can get.
I have to give you a lot of credit, because I don't know if I would be able to use my executive functioning to actually be able to be there and, like you said, stay calm and stay within the rules, because I just get so emotional when I see that kind of injustice and that kind of inhumanity. Like, where do you find the strength to do that? Because you have to dig deep within yourself, don't you, to find that ability to walk that path with these people, especially in a place where it is so visually inhumane.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mentioned previously that I've always enjoyed activism, but just because I was involved in things doesn't mean that I was doing it in a healthy way. And I wasn't for a really long time. I was doing too much. I was allowing things to deplete me. My personal life was crumbling while I was showing up for people on the outside, and you just can't maintain that. And so I had to kind of reset and just build things from the ground up and figure out, okay, this is really important to me, but the way that I've been doing it doesn't work. What do I need to change so I can be available, but it doesn't destroy my life? And I meditate a lot. I'd always had an interest in it, but now I really do it, and it's really, really helpful. I recognize that I can be available for a person's pain, but if I'm internalizing it, I'm going to get myself in trouble. So I'm careful about that.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, because I want to do this forever. But if it's damaging to me...
That's the definition of compassion. I also meditate. I've taken a couple of classes at the Turger Center in Minneapolis, which is run by a Buddhist. The guru there is a Buddhist monk. And one of the sessions that I went to, they talked about compassion. And compassion is holding space for someone else's suffering without taking that suffering upon yourself.
Right.
So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And also, in the beginning, for me, it just started as a way that I could safely continue volunteer work. Because I have major depressive disorder. I've been on medication a long time. But I've had hormonal changes lately that are a little unpredictable. And I have to be very
Welcome to
careful.
perimenopause.
Yeah, no kidding. Welcome to the club.
Woo, what a ride. And it's only begun.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, but in a sense, I'm a little bit grateful for it because it's helped me sort of redirect. Oh, yes, I do remember that this is important for me. I can't forget about it. It has to be a focus of mine. I have to be careful. I'm responsible for my own well-being, like me. That's it. So I try to remember that. But it's moved beyond protecting myself. Because in the past, having an emotional reaction to somebody, of course, is just like an instinct, right? But I'm realizing this is their experience. It is perfectly okay for me to be a human being right now, but might I be more fully available to them if I let it be just about them? And I am like a blank vessel, and they can put it all out there, and I am strictly providing this safe place for them to just be tears and sobbing and like guts all out, like, what if I can do that? What does that look like? How do I set myself up for that? And it's come from meditation. It's come from, I know mindfulness is like the word these days, but like truly from being mindful about, what am I presenting right now? And letting it all be about them. And it's actually not that hard to do. And it's really cathartic and it feels really good, so from the selfish aspect, it feels really good to just be fully available. Like, give it all to me because it's not mine. I won't internalize it. It's not going to break me, we can do this together, and it feels really cool. And honestly, that happens a lot at Adelanto during visitations. It's like, tell me everything, like get it all out. And when things are terrible, I'm just saying, I'm so sorry. This shouldn't happen to you. It shouldn't happen to you. And I try not to like give advice. Oh, like turn that smile upside down. Like, no, shit is fucked up,
Yeah.
And
there's no way to sugarcoat any of it. I mean,
No.
you just can't.
You can't. And you shouldn't. It's not appropriate. My past self would have had a hard time with that. And I would have been, I would have done the toxic positivity thing. Oh, what if we do this or what if that? Or, I recognize that was coming from my own insecurity. Like I couldn't hold that stuff, and I feel now that I can. And it's cool. I love going there.
You have written about some of the conditions, so we're going to talk about the things that you are observing and experiencing while you're there that these people are living with. You have talked about concerns about contamination, meaning that people have to microwave their water, mold around the water system, extremely limited food, people washing their own clothes in the shower, no cleaning supplies, lights that never go off, and counts through the middle of the night. So what of all these things, what has made the biggest impression on you?
My gosh. I mean, it all sounds insane when you read it in one statement.
Yeah, it is insane.
Yeah.
And that's from your post. I took that right from your post.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was just the tip of the iceberg. There were so many things that were sort of personal, that are completely horrendous, but I didn't want to share on a public platform for fear of retaliation. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think, my biggest takeaway to that is, oddly something really beautiful. And that's that in on the women's side and the men's side, and there's like different designated areas. In all of those spaces, there are people, detainees, that have taken on the role of welcoming new people that are brought in. They have taken on the role of providing different services. I don't want to list specifics, but regular things that they could only get from a fellow detainee. There's a support system. They sort of built this family. There is like this internal structure that's happening, and it's all very filled with kindness and empathy. And one person in particular, and actually two people that I've met with, are kind of part of the like they've designated themselves as a person that receives people, because when new people come in, they come in the middle of the night, usually around 2:30 a.m. And I mean, that's just one component of making the process very disorienting and really terrifying. It's like happening in the middle of the night. It's like
The
covert
punishment is the process. The punishment is the
Exactly.
process.
Exactly. But in all of these different portions of the facilities, there are people that are waiting for the new people to come in, that help them learn how to make their bed, because you have to do it the right way, but no one's going to teach you. That, show them where the showers are, show them where the water is, what they need to do to ensure that what they're drinking is safe and won't make them sick, like a welcome committee of sorts. And that they want to do it. I think that, I mean, there's so many horrendous things, but that's the big thing that stands out to me, is that these people that have been stripped of every right possible are showing up, and it's incredible. Like, I can't imagine when these people get to leave how they might contribute to our society. Like, these people are incredibly I mean, those are the people that we should be looking up to, and they're behind bars. They're the example of what a good human is.
Yeah.
Well, the humanity you just painted. I'm gonna cry now.
Yeah, it's very painful, and we have discussions about, what would you like to have here that you don't have, and some people have mentioned art supplies, or I heard that I am allowed to have a journal and one pen, or whatever. And then we do the research to confirm if that's something that we can actually get to them or not. And oftentimes it's not. It is a really challenging system. And I guess there's always an opportunity for something to work out. So that's why I don't give up, and why my fellow volunteers don't give up, because one time a package that I sent to someone that I've got to know in Adelanto actually got to him. And then the next time I saw him, he told me all about it. And I didn't know if it was going to get to him or not. There's no way to confirm anything. You can't confirm anything. Like, you put money in their commissary, there's no receipt. Like, did they get the money? I don't know. Can they buy something edible to eat today? Who knows?
I don't trust anyone who has agents of the state who will take cell phones from immigrants and go and within minutes sell them at a kiosk. I mean, that's what these people are capable of. So I don't trust any of them with any to have any sort of decency or integrity.
And unfortunately, I don't think that you can. And at the same time, I still try, and I still send the letters, and I just cross my fingers. And sometimes I think it works out. The next time I go, I get great news that they received what I sent. Something that I think about all the time is a Buddhist concept, and it's the idea of suffering, and the fact that there are many people on the planet that are suffering so deeply that they inflict harm on others. And that's a really helpful concept for me, being in places like Adelanto, where you have to wonder, how like the staff there, like, how are they doing this? Like, what do they tell themselves? to like get through each shift. And then I pull myself back, because I don't like how I feel when I judge people. It just doesn't feel good to me. And I recognize maybe it's the only job they can get. The paycheck is so, so important. And whatever it is, maybe they are suffering so deeply that it has turned into exploiting others, that it has turned into making other people's lives difficult. I don't know.
Hurt people.
Exactly.
Yes.
But it really helps me. I think it's the truth, and it also really helps me. So I don't have to go in that space and think about the guards. I can think about the people that were there to visit, and I can give everything that I have to them.
I hope that people that are listening today are inspired by this, and maybe this will prompt some people to take the same action that you did, because you just sort of jumped into it, and it has become such a huge part of your life now. It doesn't have to consume your life. You can give as much time as you are able, and the organization that you work with is in Southern California, but there are organizations all over the country, and we will put a link to Clue in the show notes. And I hope people look for other ways that they can help too.
I do too. Like, this is so accessible. I say it over and over. It's so accessible. Like, I come from a pet care background. I didn't know anything about the legal system before my first day of training last year. I had no abilities, no special skills, nothing at all. Just a personal interest. And you're right. It does not have to consume your life. I tend to function that way, but it can be a very small part of your life. It can be a once a week commitment. Like, truly, if you feel gross about the way things are, I feel gross. Like it just. Mm-hmm. And you don't feel like you have this big grand thing to offer. Well, if you have time, then that could be the very best thing, And it doesn't have to be court. It doesn't have to be an ICE detention center. There are so many ways that you can plug in. And my recommendation, honestly, is to check a number of things out and see what feels the most natural. Court felt natural to me right away, so that was easy for me. But it really is super important, certainly for your longevity, to find something that really matches with you. If you're
great advice.
If you're pushing yourself too far out of your comfort zone, you're not going to stick around, and then you'll be stuck with like that shame of it not working out. And I wanted to help, but I didn't, and that's no good. Like, we don't want that. Find your place.
Great advice.
Yeah, and we ask this of all of our guests. What's giving you hope right now?
Well, what's giving me hope right now?
Okay, it's a little scary that it's taking you so long to answer, Erin.
I know. No pressure.
I have too many answers.
That's good.
That's a good start.
just the community, the people that I know. I've met the people that I would never in a million years meet, and I don't mean just at court. The other things that I do, it's like, on paper, why would we be friends? It makes no sense. Oh, it turns out that we have all the most important things in common. So I think community is what gives me hope.
Well, I think our listeners are going to get to know you through this and get to love you as much as I do, because
I love you too, Monica. You're the best.
Erin, I'm so glad I had the chance to meet you, and thank you so much for being here today and for doing this work, because it's extraordinarily hard. And I would again push back. It is extraordinary in itself, and I'm so I admire you so much. And again, I want to remind you and our listeners that not all superheroes wear capes.
Thank you.
Sometimes they show up at immigration court.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sometimes they do. Thank you so much, you guys. It was really fun.
It was great having you, Erin.
Mm-hmm.
To our listeners, if you are finding meaning in the stories we're sharing, if something moves you, challenges you, makes you see the world a little differently, makes you want to go to immigration court and help out, please like, comment, and share. It helps more than you know.
And follow us everywhere at The Politics Chicks on Substack, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Thanks for being a part of our community. Keep shining your light so we can find each other in the dark.
And remember, we're stronger together. Erin, thank you again for being on today. This was a difficult situation, but I'm walking away feeling just a little bit lighter, knowing that there are people like you out there helping to
Absolutely.
advocate for these people that need it.
Likewise. Thank you so much, ladies.